Hey guys, I'm really excited because I'm finally getting the chance to sit down and answer some Q&A questions that you guys asked on Instagram. If you don't follow me on Instagram, that's where I do the majority of my conversations with you guys. It's over there. It's so much more efficient than here on YouTube sometimes. So make sure you go over there and follow me over there if you want to ask a question for the next Q&A. So before I get started, I wanted to mention that JORD Watches is doing another giveaway. I worked with them last fall and their watches are absolutely beautiful. So I was really excited this time to grab a watch for myself. If you don't remember, last year I grabbed one for my husband. These are gorgeous wooden watches. So this watch is absolutely beautiful. This is the Frankie series. This is the Sandalwood Emerald and Ivory, I believe it's called. And it is absolutely gorgeous. Here, I'll show you the back so you can see the detail in it. My husband loves his from last year, so I was so excited to grab one for myself this year. This happens to be one of my favorite colors, and I'm just really excited because I love that natural look, and I know that from last year it's very high quality because my husband still loves his and wears his almost every day. So the winner of this giveaway is going to receive $100 off of any watch, as well as free shipping and free sizing. And I'm also going to put a code in the description box as well that you can use for $25 off of any watch, and that is good for 2 weeks, which is as long as this giveaway is running. So thank you, JORD, for another great high quality watch, and I cannot wait to see who wins. Okay, let's hop straight into the questions. So today's questions are all homeschool questions. On Monday, I believe, I'm going to be uploading a video with all of the personal Q&A questions, and you guys asked some really good ones on marriage, on pregnancies, on future children, all sorts of stuff. So I'm going to be answering all of those in my next video. So today's Q&A, like I said, is all homeschool, and I just copied and pasted all of the questions that I got about a week ago when I asked questions on Instagram. So I haven't looked at them again since I made this little list of the questions because I wanted to answer as candidly as possible. So forgive me if I pause for a couple of minutes to think about things, but I really liked all of your guys' questions. Okay, so number one, when do you fit cleaning, laundry, and organizing into your homeschool day? Well, I do have a few different times throughout the day that I try to tidy up. It's mostly tidying up throughout the course of the day rather than one big cleanup. So I wake up very early, much earlier than the kids do, so I do a little bit of picking up then. I also work on some of the household cleaning, things that might be a little bit louder, like running laundry, running vacuums, while the kids are doing their morning chores. Their morning chores are just like doing their bedrooms, like making their beds and things like that. So I'll run the vacuum if I need to, run the washer and the dryer. Our dryer buzzes so stinking loud, so I can't do laundry when kids are sleeping. And then in the afternoon when the kids are doing their contributions, which is what we basically call chores. Contributions are things that contribute to our family as a whole, so that would be like mopping and dishes and things that don't directly relate to their own messes, is when I also do my contributions, which would be whatever activity or chore that I think really needs done that day. I do have like a rolling schedule of things that I try to get to. I will link that video up here if I can find it. So things like washing the windows or just the good nitty-gritty cleaning. Everybody's bedrooms are on there one day. Mopping, I already mentioned a couple of times. Just any deep cleaning kind of stuff happens in the afternoon during the kids' chore time. So I'm working, they're working, we're all working. It's creating a good culture around cleaning. It's not just me dictating chores and having them, not dictating. What's the word I'm going for? It's not just me. You guys, what's the stinking word? Whatever. I'm sure I'll figure it out before I post this video. But it's not just me giving them chores and having them do them. They're seeing me work as well, so we're all working together. Okay, next question. Can you break down your schedule, routine, and what subjects you do first? Well, baby. The Instagram sticker cut out, so I'm assuming that you mean while the baby is napping. So let me think. We always try to start with morning basket, a little bit of outside time, some independent work, and then when the baby is napping is actually when the kids are doing their quiet time, so she's most often awake while we're doing school. So sometimes I try to fit in some special independent time, but you have to remember that I also have 2 older kids. They're 7 and 9, almost 10 actually. So they're capable of playing with her while I work with the other one if somebody needs a little bit of extra help. We also love sensory bins and Play-Doh and snacks. So we kind of just really go for it with her around all day long. How do you get school done with a 9-month-old who always wants to be held? SOS. It's kind of what I just said. You just kind of do it. I don't know. At that age, I remember with Eli, I really lived by, I really swore by the ergo or any kind of wrap, just kind of like always needing to be held. I do remember saying that I felt bad for Eli because the only time he really has with me is in the ergo, but I never made a whole lot of eye contact with him. So yeah, just hold them and maybe change your expectations. That's a big, that first year, man, we're so hard on ourselves, but when they're little babies, we just have to change our expectations. And it's a good life lesson for our kids that, you know, we work when it's time to work, and when the baby or when somebody else has needs that come up, we rest and take the time to meet those needs. So a lot of independent work for the kids with a little assistance from me, and just lower expectations and grace for that first year. Can you share your morning rhythms? I have kids and ours are super chaotic. Did you guys see my morning basket video? Ours is pretty chaotic too. We do have a pretty good system that's based on former survival mode from my husband's long work days when I would have the kids sun up to sundown by myself. So we wake them up by 6:30 if they are not awake already, and at that point they start on they come to breakfast, of course, first of all, but then they start on their little morning chores. All their morning chores are just tidying up after themselves. We don't ask them to do anything outside of that right off the bat. So making their beds, getting dressed, cleaning up their breakfast mess, things that are expected, should be expected of them. We do morning basket together, which is a very sweet time. Then we spend some time outside together. This is all changing around a little bit. If you saw my goals video from the beginning of the month, it is really kind of to find a better schedule because the loop system wasn't, that's my dog, wasn't working out so well. Come here. So it's a little fluid right now, but that's generally how we start our day. And then by then it's about 10 o'clock in the morning and we're getting down into some of our more core subjects. Okay, any must-have learning toys or resources? Oh, all of them. I love anything that's not electronic or a noisemaker or a time waster. So I love puzzles, we love blocks, STEM style toys. You guys know that mag formers are like my kids' favorite toy ever. They think it's the most amazing thing in the world. I'm trying to think. My homeschool favorites videos really highlights whatever I think is super necessary at the moment. Anything else? Audiobooks, 1000%. This year I really started to burn out on reading aloud, so audiobooks have been our saving grace. I don't know. I'm sorry, maybe I should have gone through these first. Suggestions or ideas for homeschooling a difficult child or one who feels like they can't do it. That is tough. You guys have probably heard me talk about the company Celebrate Calm. I really love that company. There's a podcast, a great podcast that goes along with that. I think that having a child who is difficult is, whether it's something developmental, like say a sensory processing thing, that's something that hits home for me because we deal with that every day. Or just a child who's going through a season with a stinky attitude, or maybe home life is kind of in a little bit of a rut and your kids are reacting to that. I think it's just all about grace for yourself, grace for that child, trying to find a new way. You really have all the time in the world to tailor the best form of education for them. So just taking the pressure off of trying to figure it out, figure the child out so you can figure the education out right now would be my best advice. I did, I probably posted that video before this video, some tips for just a bad day in general, but if anybody has any tips for a child who's just difficult to homeschool, leave them in the comments below. Okay, resources or methods for a discouraging day. I think I'm going to answer that in my personal Q&A because I'm not sure that that was meant to be specifically homeschooling, but it will go along with homeschooling regardless. Oh, why did we decide to homeschool? Have I not answered that? I guess I haven't answered that in a dedicated video. Maybe I should do a dedicated video on that. I will say that our reasons for homeschooling have changed dramatically since we started. Initially, when we started homeschooling, it was preschool, and my husband wasn't even on board, not even close to being on board, but he was like, well, it's okay because she's only 3 or 4, so can't mess her up too bad. And so I was kind of like, okay, gotta prove myself. And so that was our initial experience with homeschooling. And then after that year, and I totally failed, by the way, so that was not a success. I did not, you know, sell homeschooling to him, but really he became a huge advocate for it after he just saw the way that it served our family and became something that was just a really great part of our family culture. Over time it's changed, and like I said, we do have a child who does have sensory processing. It's actually sensory integration, I believe is the official term. I don't talk about that often. If you guys want me to, you can ask me some questions below and I might compile them for a video, but we're still learning the ropes with that as well. But it's something that we've dealt with for a pretty long time, and so over time I've just been so grateful that the Lord would have us homeschool, because I probably wouldn't have noticed those things initially and would have just sent that child off to school where their needs might not have been getting met. In our area, we have a very low amount of assistance in our public schools for special needs or anything like that. So I'm just really grateful. And so like I said, our reasonings have changed, because we wouldn't have known that at the time when we had started homeschooling our daughter, because she was the only child we were homeschooling. How often do I get rid of homeschooling things? All the time. I have a really bad habit of just tossing everything, even at like a perfectly fine intact crayon. If it's on the floor, trash. I'm not a big fan of like holding on to things that I think would just do better in the trash. I don't save a lot of, I do save curriculum though. Curriculum that has served our family well, that I would like to reuse in the future. I do save those, but all in all, I have one large Rubbermaid sized container of curriculum for the future. And if it doesn't work, and most often it doesn't work because it doesn't kind of work with my personality or the way that I want to teach. So then it just goes in the trash, because I probably won't want to teach it to any of my kids. So, or not the trash, but you know, I get rid of it. How is my transition to different curriculum going? That's a really good question, because it's going okay. Again, with my goals video from the beginning of the month of October, I know that I mentioned that we're just kind of working to find a better routine. And with that, I'm figuring out what does and doesn't work well for us. I have already, it's about midway through the month, I've already gone back to some of the things we used last year and been like, Abby, why were you trying to change things from last year? They worked so well. So it's going okay. I definitely love the Good and the Beautiful. We have switched to Good and the Beautiful for handwriting, and we have switched to Good and the Beautiful for science. We're using a little bit of the nature study, but we're really just kind of doing what we did last year. What else have we changed? I think that's all we really changed. So yeah, as far as that goes, that's going pretty well. How do I use community resources to supplement homeschool? I kind of chuckled. Oh, let me turn the light off. This lighting's super weird. Okay, never mind. It ended up being even weirder without the light. It's kind of like a weird cloudy then sunny day. What was I? Oh yeah. How do we use community resources to supplement homeschooling? So this is weird for our area. Our little county happens to be just saturated with resources for homeschooling, but then you go one county south or north of us and there's like no homeschoolers. And so I know that this is kind of a tough one for me to answer, because I have the opposite problem as far as I know a lot of people have trouble finding good resources in their community, but in our community, there's too many good resources, and it's kind of a conversation my girlfriends and I have a lot, which is just, it's impossible to do it all. And so you have to be okay with missing stuff in order to focus on being at home. Like, we really struggle to find enough time at home because there's so many opportunities for us outside of our home. I think part of that has to do with being in Florida in general, living on the beach. We have a lot of really great hands-on nature study opportunities. So for anybody who's looking for community resources, find somebody who, I remember listening to Sonia Schaefer once, and she said to use your village, to not be afraid to use your village. And so for anybody who knows somebody who is a really great musician, see if they'd be willing to teach your child music. If you can even bring them dinner one day a week to supplement instead of a cost. Maybe, you know, maybe you bake great pies and they love music and it works out for everyone. Nature study is always, of course, my first go-to, just because you don't even need to know somebody to do that. I'm sure your area has something beautiful that you guys can study or look at or just get out and about. What else? See if there's any good homeschool groups in your area. Even if you have to travel 30 minutes to an hour, it's worth it just to make connections and to find things. But yeah, so that's kind of a toughie for me, because I think a lot of people who live in our area and start to homeschool actually become overwhelmed, because it's like, well, on Monday we're doing this and on Tuesday we're doing this. And we have a pretty small town, but even in our small town, I believe we have 4, maybe even 5 CC communities just in our town, because they're so full. We don't do CC, but it's just another thing, like we could if we wanted to, because there's one every day of the week. So that's a difficult one for me to answer. How do you handle uncooperative workers? Well, to be totally honest, the most uncooperative worker is myself. So it's mostly about me having the motivation, or finding the motivation if I don't have the motivation that day. My kids are pretty eager to do school. They enjoy what we do. So just finding something that they enjoy doing and implementing it, making it a part of your homeschool, whether it is baking or nature study to get you through, you know, a reading lesson they don't want to get through or something like that. If they want to come to the table, then you can get to the table. How to balance it all as a homeschooler, especially working out, field trips, etc. Okay, how to balance it all. You ready? Don't even try. You can't balance it all. It is all about a good ebb and flow. Finding routine one day doesn't mean that it's gonna work every day. Because I was able to work out on Monday and Tuesday doesn't mean I should be discouraged when I don't work out Wednesday or Thursday. Motherhood is tough, marriage is tough, homeschooling is tough, special needs or relationship with your kids are tough, friendships are tough, life is tough, and if we keep trying to do everything, it's just gonna make it all that much harder. But practically speaking, waking up early and getting to bed on time is a really great place to start. So there's an abstract and a realist kind of an answer for you. If I do not wake up early, half of the stuff doesn't get done, and I really do not feel motivated for anything else. So I know that's like, I think that's like every mom's struggle. Set an alarm for the time you should get in bed. Set an alarm, keep yourself accountable to having a decent bedtime. Okay, how do you do unit studies? I'm probably not the best one to talk about unit studies, because I've never really researched how to do unit studies. I do love 5 in a row, but that's pretty laid out for you. And I know I show unit studies on here, but when I show you guys unit studies, that's like all we do for that unit study. So I have never been one to like incorporate all like math, science, reading, everything into one unit study. So when we do unit studies, it's mostly book studies where we take a book that we really love and then we kind of do a couple of activities every day around that book. So that's fun, because that's cooking and that's crafting, and there's a little science mixed in and some art mixed in, but other than that, I do unit studies that are pretty laid out for me. So that's how I do unit studies. Those are all the questions for my homeschool Q&A. I hope you guys liked that video. I hope that it answered some of the questions that you guys have had. If you have more homeschooling related questions, you can leave those in the comments below, and I will come back and look at these if I decide to do one maybe during Vlogmas. All right, so make sure you check out that Yod Watch giveaway in the description box below, and be back here Monday for my personal Q&A, which I think is a little bit more personal than I traditionally share on the channel, but I'm looking forward to sharing some things with you guys. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.